It's Saturday Stockman Stampede. A while ago I started collecting some of Case's Mahogany Jigged Peach Seed Bone series. They're in carbon steel, and the first knives that I got in this series were the mini trapper and the full-size trapper. Next, I added the copper lock and the medium Stockman. Now, I'm not quite as much for the medium Stockman. They're a little bit too small for me. The medium trappers are okay. They're the same thing. They're a little bit small. I like the full-size trapper. Now, another knife that I had added to it was this Sodbuster Jr. Now, Sodbuster Juniors were never actually part of the series. As you can see, this is a carbon steel one. This was an amber peach seed jig bone. And that particular bone works great for dyeing to make it look like knives that belong to the series. And my latest addition to this series is this Case 75 large Stockman. I think it turned out excellent. This also was an amber peach seed bone. As you can see, it's got a nice clip point blade, and it's definitely got the teeners. You can see on the sheep's foot, USA 6375 carbon steel. And then you have your spay blade. Typical large Stockman. The 6375 is a beautiful pattern. And I don't know, I never really cared for the amber bone so much, but I really like this mahogany color, the reddish brown color. And as you can see, everyone is different. These four are from the actual series, and they all look a little bit different because bone being a natural material, it's not going to take dye exactly the same. These two I feel are closer to each other, and I use the same technique on both of these. First, I took and I applied red dye. I use leather dye. I do leather work, and I have leather dye in many different colors. Leather is a natural material, and so is bone. So I figured it would work perfectly, and it does. So first I put red on it to give it that reddish tint, like a mahogany. Then I added brown to darken it up, and especially the areas right in here are very light on the amber peach seed bone knives. So it's perfect. You already had the dark brown, and then you have the light areas, because you can take a light area and dye it darker. You can't take a dark area and dye it lighter. That will not work. So all these knives in the center, well, this one is dark all the way on both sides. But all these other ones, they're dark in the center and lighter on the outsides. And this copper lock is really light on the outsides. I'll give you a little closer look at that. This side's a little bit darker, but like I said, bone being a natural material, you're not going to have everything exact. One of the things about doing it this way is I did get both sides very close to each other, although one side, I don't remember which, was quite a bit lighter than the other, and it took a few more coats of dye to get the job done. What I would do is put the dye on, leave it sit kind of puddled up on the surface, and leave it for an hour or so to soak in, then wipe it off, and then go for another coat. And keep doing that until you reach the desired color. Now, by using the separate red and brown dyes, I'm able to customize in certain areas. I did make the center a little darker using a dark brown, and I used a combination of red and brown on the ends. And the last coat of brown that I had used, the knife was looking a little bit too brown, so I added one more coat of dye, of red dye on each end, on both sides, and it turned out just perfect. If you didn't know that a large Stockman was not part of the series, I think you would think that it was. You would be convinced. This turned out awesome. I'm very happy with the results. And I'd just like to say, don't be afraid to modify things yourselves. All things considered, these knives are not that expensive. Yes, if this whole collection of 6 adds up to be a pretty decent price, but individually they're not that expensive, and you don't really have anything to lose by trying. If you find a knife in carbon steel like these amber peach seed bone knives. They're a great candidate for dyeing and doing some things like this. White bone or natural bone would be another really good candidate for changing the color. So look for carbon steel knives that are in light colors and have fun and make them what you want. Because a lot of times there's either not enough knives in the series, we don't have so many choices in carbon steel knives from Case, and in order to have what we actually want, you have to do it yourself. So have fun modding some knives, and we'll see you next time.